And actually, I'm gonna be looking into trying to get the only ones I have left to really get after Yatsura, which I'm gonna get more of that, is Inuyasha and then Rin-ne, her latest one. Which Rin-ne, I'm not really working on that too hard to get. But Inuyasha, like, I'd be really interested in at least trying to find, because I really want to just get the big editions of that. Then next up here, Gray, volumes 1 and 2, which I am almost sure this is the entirety of it, but it's really weird looking at these old Viz collected edition versions, because if you'll notice, it's actually got a dust jacket on it, which that's just nuts that there's actually because I really can't name many Viz titles that actually got dust jackets. And also, whoever had these, they submitted I think they gave these up like March 12th, which is very recently. And whoever previously had these, like, kept these in pristine condition, especially because I'm pretty sure all of these are from like the 80s and early 90s to keep them nice like that. And then what's weird is, like, if you look at it, actually on the spine of this one at least, it actually lists the names of all the issues which comprise of these individual volumes here, which is again, like, weird to look at, considering like you know, modern trades of like Marvel and DC comics don't list like the titles of the issues that comprise each of their trade collections. It's just kind of odd to actually see that happen. But these are really nice dust jackets, especially like this one here, which is a nice wraparound dust jacket for this. You know, it's really hard to like probably find a lot of these. So I'm really lucky that I got them at the dirt cheap price that I did find them. The next up here, Cross Game volumes 7 and 8, which is the end of the series for Cross Game, and I really like this a lot. You know, even if even if I think this is probably one of probably two of the of like maybe a handful of baseball manga that ever actually made it to America translated. This is still like really, really good for it, and I highly recommend it, especially for the price that you get. Gerard and Jaques, volumes 1 and 2, another Fumi Yoshinaga title. Then let's see here, Ichigenme, the first class is Civil Law, volumes 1 and 2. Still haven't read through that one yet. Then next up here we get Magic Knight Rayearth, volumes 1 and 2 of the Dark Horse Omnibus, which you can already see, like, for some reason they changed the logo from up here to down here for some reason. I don't get it. And also, whoever put this away was an a-hole and put that right on the bottom of the volumes, which, I mean, yeah, that sucks. I'd rather that they didn't mark them. But, you know, I paid half price for these, so I guess I'm getting what I paid for with that. At least, you know, the rest of it, the interior and everything's clean. Let's see. Next up, then, is some horror anthologies that I got very recently. Here's a Hideshi Hino one, which is Lullibies from Hell. Which I haven't read this yet, but I mean, it's Hino. He always does some weird, kooky stuff. Here is Kazuo Umezu's Reptilia, which is another horror anthology released by IDW, which IDW, I don't think they ever release manga. I think that's the only one I've seen them do. And then here's a few more Kazuo Umezu titles. This is a Scary Book. Here we go. Scary Book, volumes 1 through 3, which is another another collection of like other Kazuo Umezu horror anthologies. The only one I've read in its entirety is volume 2, Insects, which comprises a single story in it, which I mean, it's a pretty good story. You know, it has a nice kind of twist ending, and it's pretty fun. They're all pretty good horror type. At least Kazuo Umezu usually does good horror stuff. And then next up here is Big O, volumes 1 through 6. This was a series that was done by Hitoshi Ariga, who also did the Mega Man manga series, and it looks really good. It is a really good series. If you're a Big O fan, although keep in mind that it isn't in direct canon with the anime. It changes things up a little bit, especially with the involvement of Schwarzwald from the Enemy is another big episode. They changed that up, and they changed a few other details, especially because this manga was done before Sunrise and William Street, aka Adult Swim, worked together to work on the second season, which is a whole mess. But this is before that, and you can see that they took a lot of ideas that Ariga actually did to create most of what they put into the Big O second season, especially Big Foul, which Big Foul wasn't even. This is the first time that it actually shows up, and a lot of Rosewater, the Alex Rosewater stuff is brought up first in here, and then changed a little bit in the second season. But you can definitely see that he actually influenced a lot more than you might think for creating the second season. And also, there's actually it feels a lot better than the way the second season works, because a lot of these are the single story vignettes that were a lot of what made the Big O season 1 really enjoyable for me. Let's see. Then, just to try and get as much in here as possible, here's Genshiken second season volume 2, which season 1, volume 1, I previously put at a different part of this collection, but I'm just gonna put it in here just because, hey, that's at least one less volume I'll have to do next year. But I mean, so far so good. It's been really a lot of fun. I think that there's a little bit of a dip in the quality because I don't think that Shimoku Kyo I don't think he's as good at writing women as he is men, and that's kind of an issue because minus him right here, who is a cross-dresser and pretty much you could just count him as a girl. Pretty much the entire roster of Genshiken in this iteration are all women, and I don't think that it gels as well previously. But I mean, it's still the same humor, same setup, and everything. Then let's see. Next up, we get Gundam: The Origin Volume 1, which this is absolutely gorgeous. You can see just the hardcover and the way the art is presented here. Also, there are all these high gloss pages in here, high quality stuff. It even has little essays in the back concerning some of the creators and other fans, even one by Hideki Anno, creator of director of Evangelion, and also plenty of color pages are inserted in here. I've already pre-ordered all of that I can of this, and it's a very limited print run. Very limited. You owe it to yourselves, if you were ever a Gundam fan, to go and get this now. Get it, go, Alright, next up we get Lupin the Third, first series. This is volumes 1 through 14, which I really dig this a lot. If you've ever been a fan of Lupin the Third from the Adult Swim block that he was on, I'd recommend picking up some of these. Or if you've ever been a fan of like Mad Magazine and the Spy vs. Spy portion of that, this is also very similar to that, mostly because Monkey Punch actually drew inspiration from that for creating the layout and the main characters of it. But I will warn you, it's a lot more adult than even in the anime on TV, where the Lupin the Third anime, at least the one that aired in America on TV, that one's actually a lot more tame. They only show a little bit of TNA here, and not so much not so much the implied rape that is occasionally thrown into Lupin the Third, the manga series here, and also some of the nudity. Although, to be fair, it's not like graphic nudity. It's just like, you know, you can tell, yeah, he's ripping off Fujiko's clothes and stuff. So that might be something to look out for if you're not really comfortable with that. Then the sequel series, which was Lupin the Third, volumes 1 through 7, and then volume 9. Volume 8 I'll be getting sometime soon, but that is a little bit more pricey than these other ones here. I haven't read through this yet, but I mean, I can almost guarantee that it's just more of the same goodness from Lupin the Third. Let's see, then next up, Kurosagi, Corpse Delivery Service, volumes 1 through 13 here. Volume 5 being the only one of these that you're really going to have to pay a little more if you want to get. Although, to be fair, I think Volume 8 actually pretty much summarizes everything that's been going on. Pretty much as long as you get like Volume 1 of Kurosagi, they're all fairly self-contained stories that you really don't need to get every volume if you can't or don't feel like it. Although of recently, I think in this latest volume and so on, they have been hinting at some more ongoing elements, some more teasers of things like kind of all of the main characters related past the fact that all of them develop their supernatural gifts or abilities. Although, to be fair, yeah, the one girl in here who's good at embalming, that's not really a supernatural gift, but that they all got interested in the dead and the macabre following a traumatic event where their parents were killed. So there's a little bit of that mystery going into that series. But overall, I really enjoyed it a lot for a continued ongoing horror. And thankfully, Dark Horse is still publishing them as they come out. They just announced that they are going to release Volume 14, which is good. Next up here, we got Message to Adolf, Volumes 1 and 2 of the vertical hardcover edition. Still, it's really good Tezuka. It's probably the best Tezuka story. If I had a gun put to my head and I had to choose. We have The Moon and Sandels, The Moon and the Sandels, Volumes 1 and 2, which this is actually the first thing Fumi Yoshinaga ever submitted. This is like her first real, breakout success series. But I actually enjoyed this a lot. There was a lot, it was gay men being in love with each other, but I mean, it was still a good story and good characters, and as long as you have those two things, that's all you really need. Even if the subject matter, you may not enjoy, or it may not be your thing. As long as you have those first two things, that's really what you need to really make something that people can like. I really like this a lot. All right, next up here we have Mai the Psychic Girl, Volumes 1 through 4 of the Viz Collected Editions, which I got these the same time I got the Gray and the Urusei Yatsura and the Sanctuary. And, you may recall a few times here and there I mentioned that these were released in 3 volumes, but I didn't know it was actually 4 volumes, because apparently Volume 4 of this is ridiculously hard to find. I don't even know where I can find it. Maybe I didn't look right, or I missed something, but apparently it is 4 volumes. So I'm just going to add an addendum to that My Psychic Girl, I previously had the single issues and I counted that as 3, and now I'm gonna have to go back and say, yeah, those count as 4 now. But again, these are really gorgeous here, and I have read somewhere in one of the when I was reading like some of the issues relating to the Viz manga stuff, and they were talking about Mai in the back of one of the ads, that apparently in these collected editions, that these are uncensored versions. So I'll have to actually go back and see exactly what was cut out of the Mai the Psychic Girl issues. There's a few points where like she's taking a bath or or something, but it's not like, graphic nudity. Like, if you look at Crying Freeman, yeah, that's a lot of nudity. Here it's like, it's kind of that tasteful kind of nudity from like, Rumiko Takahashi and stuff. But so far I've read volumes 1 and 2 of Mai the Psychic Girl, and it is really damn fun. It's kind of that 80s cheese. There's a bit of that in there, especially because they mention like auto teller cards, which some of you may not know what an auto teller card is. That is the very, 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 very old name for what we know today as the credit card. That's just hilarious. She's just like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. I don't have cash, but I have my auto teller card. And they're like, whoa, an auto teller card, fancy. Or it's like, they're like, yeah, put it on the voicemail. No, the video, put it, I'll just let the answering machine get it. Like, it's just, there's a lot of fun if you're like, or they mention East Germany. Like, if you love all that 80s stuff, like, they'll occasionally reference something in here that is very distinctly 80s. Just not like to make it 80s, but just because it was that time. Like one guy says radical. That just kills me when I see that. But yeah, no, I really dig these spine jackets here. And also on the back, they actually, again, list all the issues that each volume comprises of Mai the Psychic Girl in each of these volumes. I do highly suggest getting it, even if you can only get it in the issue forms, because I don't think that the censoring really hurts it that much, because even if I think they do, it's not like a really big thing. I think maybe, like, I don't know, they just say, oh, she's got suds on her boobs, where, that would be naked, sort of thing. I don't think they, like, just rip whole pages or panels out or something. It's also interesting to note that I think it's Tim Burton has been fascinated by this series. There's been a few film directors in Hollywood that have actually been interested in adapting Mai the Psychic Girl to film. I'm almost sure that I think it's Tim Burton who actually wanted to adapt this into a musical, no less. Which, I mean, okay, Psychic Girl musical with kung fu in it. Like, it's just so bizarre. It could almost work. But I really like this a lot. Not to ramble on, but there you have it. That's all I've got for you here. Moving along now, we've got Pokémon, Diamond and Pearl, volumes 1 through 8, and a Pokémon Ginji's Rescue Team Pokémon Mystery Dungeon volume. I have not read the Diamond and Pearl installment yet, but I mean, I got it real cheap, and all of it looked pretty good so far as the Pokemon manga series go. Let's see, also along with that, Pokemon Black and White volumes 1 and 2, which were a part of this little kind of bundle deal thing I got with the other Pokemons that I got from eBay. These are 5 each. However, I do know that you can get this in a complete box set, volumes 1 through 8, and that is only $20 on Amazon right now. So you're talking about just paying it for half of what it is. So I'm probably going to have to rebuy 1 and 2 to get the box set, which would be a steal, because you really can't get them online cheaper than $5 on most places. Next up then is Lovely Complex volumes 1 through 17, which is the entire series. The volumes to look out for is 7 and 13, which will run you a little high. However, I have heard very recently that Viz is planning to reprint all of the Lovely Complex volumes for another printing. So it should get back to being very easy to get the entire series of that. Then next up, Nightmare Inspector, Yumekui Kenbun, volumes 7, 8, and 9, which finishes off the entire series of that. I read like 1 through 3 of these at some point, and it was pretty good, but I'll probably be rereading that entire series at least in time to maybe do some horror manga stuff. Next up then is Real. Next up then is Real, volumes 1 through 11, which is all that has come out of the series so far, which I haven't heard as to say that it's going to be ending anytime soon, which I am glad to hear that, because with Slam Dunk finishing up here in the States, it's nice to know that I'll at least have one steady influx of sports manga. Even if it's in something as esoteric as wheelchair basketball. Now this one here, oh boy, I screwed up. I do not know how it happened, but it did. I looked and I looked and I swore I must have misplaced it somewhere. I must have put in the wrong stack, done something with it, anything. But no, I really did this. Here we have Toriko, 10 through 14. Following in my ultimate manga collection, the 1820 video, I only counted that I had volumes 1 through 8 of Toriko. For some unbelievable reason, I somehow missed getting volume 9. I don't know how that could have happened. I don't know how I could have missed that. I am usually so very on top of things when it comes to making sure I get all the volumes as they come out. But, you know, I checked my previous orders on Right Stuff. I checked my previous orders on JustManga.com when I was still buying manga from there. I checked my Amazon. I checked everything I could for that chunk of, it was around April to June of 2012 to see if I actually bought that at all. Apparently I didn't, which actually does explain why when I picked up volume 10, I can distinctly remember that time that I kind of didn't know what was going on at that point right then. Well, there's the reason why I missed a whole freaking volume of the series. Of course, I still just sort of went along with it. It wasn't too hard to pick it up where it was, I'll admit. I don't know if that's for or against the series itself, if I can just skip a whole volume of content and not really miss anything. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's just, I can't believe that, like, I didn't pick that up. Like, at no point, I guess I must have put these with Toriko 1 through 8, and I was just sort of thinking in my head that 9 must be around somewhere. I just maybe misplaced it or something, and I'll just find it later. But at least at that time, I would know that I have the rest of them in one spot, and I was just gonna put it on the back burner for later, and then I must have just forgot. And you know, it's just I don't know what to say about that. Never let it be said that I am without fault, I guess. I guess I can make mistakes like anybody. Ugh, jeez. Oh, I know what's at the top of my list of things to get now. Toriko Volume 9. Next up then we have Manga, which, again, I mentioned this in a previous update. This is just a oversized comic anthology featuring a bunch of different manga creators, all just sort of contributing for this kind of just manga adaptation here, which was a very early attempt at kind of trying to bring manga stateside, but you know, I guess it didn't really catch on until a lot later. Next up we have Video Girl I, volumes 1 through 15 of the series. I've only read volume 1 so far of Video Girl I. I did previously read, though, Masakazu Katsura's next series that he did after this, which is Aisu, which actually I did enjoy that. It was pretty cool. Although after reading the first volume and then reading Video Girl, after reading this, then the first volume of this, and reading Aisu, I could definitely see that very early on he was trying to basically redo the Video Girl I formula, because they both started very similar, minus the whole weird science kind of trope that kind of came out of this. Also here, GTO 14 Days in Shonan Volume 8, which I'm just putting in here because, I just got this, and whatever I can put in here, I don't have to bring that up next year. Just less stuff to carry down. I like to just, once I get to the end, to be at the end of it. So there's that volume. And then Appleseed, volumes 1 through 4, which is the whole series to have come out for Appleseed that Masamune has written. So I've read volume 1, and so far it's pretty cool. I've seen one of the CG animated one, Appleseed Ex Machina, which I recall was pretty okay. Next up, Hellsing, volumes 1 through 10, which is the entire series. I recall reading and actually reviewing Hellsing here back when only 1 through 9 had come out. I think 10 was just about ready to come out for it. And from what I recall, it was a pretty cool series, and I'm going to really enjoy probably rereading through that again. It's from what I recall, it had a good pace, good action, really awesome characters, and that's all you can really ask for. Next up, we have Fullmetal Alchemist, volumes 1 through 27, which is the entire series. I keep seeing this online, at least in the box bundle set. I've seen the box bundle set, which contains all of this and the the 2 novels and a poster and a little carrying case, everything. I've seen that go for like $120, which is really damn good. So there's really no excuse for now, at least, that everyone not try to get Fullmetal Alchemist, because even just from what I can gather from the animes, and I know I read it up to volume 18 in the past. I'll just reread the whole thing again. But it is really good, and with really good character development, and that's really what pulls it through, and also a lot of serious tone with a lot of that horror of war kind of feel, sort of in the backdrop of it a lot. But I mean, yeah, for the price that you can get it for, it really is worth what you pay for to read it through. For next up here, we have Excel Saga, volumes 1 through 15, and then volume 20. I only really started getting into this series like just a few months ago with the knowledge that Rito Koshi, the writer of the series, just finished the manga series at 27 volumes. And keep in mind that this series goes back to like the mid-90s. Like, the fact that it took him that long to get through all of Excel Saga to finish it, long before the ending of the anime, is really bizarre. Also, more so the fact that, the more I hear people talk about Excel Saga, the more I'm aware that, like, nobody has ever read the manga of it. Like, no one. And I hardly can pick out any instances with any other series where the fans of the show have either never heard of or ever read any of the source material manga. Like Dragon Ball, I know plenty of people that have read the manga of that. Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, even other stuff like maybe GTO. I've known plenty of people that have read, or at least read a few of the manga of that. I mean, Berserk. It's baffling that I have not seen anyone who reads the manga of this, and that just makes it more intriguing for me to just see how it does compare with the anime, because a lot of people really love the anime. I mean, myself included. I have the complete set when they put in that little slim disc version, and it is hilarious and fun. And the manga itself is also pretty good too. I'm not saying it's as good as the anime. I think the anime has a lot more going for it because I just think comedy generally works better in a video form, or when it's something to be observed, or acted out in front of you as opposed to like reading it. I think that if you're gonna do humor that's written, you have to be really on your game. You have to be really, really careful about it. There's not really a lot of tricks with written humor, or like with comics and books. Like Earth the book is a great example of how that can be done well and perfect, because it's an obvious parody on like a lot of those eyewitness or discovery books and stuff. Only it's a humor, poking fun at just everything that is world culture and just everything in daily life. But with XL Saga, there's a lot more of you have to really be on the ball and be very observant and in the mood to really get the manga. And on top of that, it has an atrocious first volume. I'm not even gonna nitpick it. First volume is just, you have to really power through it. There's a lot of setting up. There's not really many jokes. There's no really punchlines or anything there. It's just here's what's going on, and you gotta really just really, you gotta go on the idea that this is gonna get better, and it does. I'm currently halfway through volume 6 and volume 7. I'm currently halfway through volume 7, and it does have a few good points here and there that I can generally laugh at right now, and I can't wait to see kind of where it goes later. There is a severe lack of Pedro, so if you're a big fan of Pedro from the anime, he is not in here, nor the all-knowing, all-seeing consciousness of the celestial cosmos. The big black hole with the arms. Not in there at all either. But I mean, you do still get the Kopapu and Il Palazzo and their rivalry, and also Excel and Hyatt, and then the other worker guys are also in there, and then Michi is in there, and also there's no Nabashin. Nabashin is not in there. He was added strictly for the anime. So again, if you love Nabashin, he's not really in here. So I mean, I'll just I'm gonna keep sticking with it, see exactly where he goes with it, and see how that plays out. Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind box set. I previously had the 7-volume one that was again released by Viz earlier. That was technically like the second edition version of Nausicaa. This is the coup de grace, the one to go for. Gorgeous hardcover, very nice presentation. Little slip. This is a slipcase. You remember back a few parts ago when I was complaining about Pokémon and how rinky-dink that box set was? Look at that. You can hear the thunk on that. That is a box right there. And it is a shame that when you look for this on Amazon right now, the price for this has skyrocketed. Like, this retails for like $60, and it's being sold currently for $160. Like, this is highway robbery right there. Although I have seen on rightstuff.com that they are slated to get more in April, mid-April, I think. So whether or not they do get that, if they do, I highly recommend that you go and grab it. Just get it immediately. I'd highly recommend getting it, especially because you don't know if it's gonna go out of print again, and then you're missing out on just probably the only manga work by probably Japan's greatest animation film director of all time. Really worth picking that up. Here we are now at the home stretch, so let's get started. First up, we got Bakuman, volumes 10 through 18, leaving only 2 more to go before the series is finally finished. It's been a real great run for the series, and amazingly enough, it's rather impressive that these guys have not only exceeded the length that Death Note was, but managed to not jump the shark like they did with Death Note. I guess that's more proof that these guys kind of know what they're are getting better at what they're doing. Can't wait to really see what they try and do next. It kind of feels like Bakuman was sort of mostly like quasi-autobiographical with exactly what they went through with the actual conception of Death Note, because a lot of it seems to kind of mirror how they were coming up with kind of a cult hit battle manga idea, which the more you look at it and see kind of what they're coming up with as the characters in the manga itself, the more it feels like what they're trying to get across is what led them to actually create Death Note. But needless to say, it's still a great story on its own, even without that bit of meta aside. Next up, we got here Andromeda Stories, volumes 1 through 3. I was initially a little kind of taken aback by it. It wasn't that impressive. The more I kind of sit and let it mellow. It is a fine story. It's not. If you like sci-fi and that kind of classic-y sci-fi fantasy, you'll enjoy this. If you like Tutera, it's not quite as emotional, I think, but it's still decent nonetheless. Let's see. Next up, Cardcaptor Sakura, Volume 4 of the big edition that came out from Dark Horse, and this was just a great sort of ending with Sakura. It's actually surprising how very few of Clamp's titles even really have a good ending that I've read and picked up. Like, so many of them just kind of peter out, and it feels like they kind of lose steam before they can actually get things wrapped up properly. Then next up here, this is yet another of the manga series that I got that I previously owned, but decided to get the new edition here, and this is Gone, volumes 1 through 7. As previously, I had a 6-volume version, which was released by Paradox Press, and then brought over via I think it was DC or DC Vertigo brought it over with that, but essentially that was the edition that I had previously from the last update, and there were only 6 volumes of that, although the Gone Color Spectacular, that one was not reprinted with this, So really, I'm just gonna count this series as 8 volumes because of that color one. Whereas here, the only reason why I got this is because half of Volume 7 is actually, actually a little more than half of Volume 7 is a whole other Gone story, where I assume because of these orangutans, that Gone is somewhere in the island of Sumatra, or also given that there is no distinct time, Gone is where the island of Sumatra would eventually be. So that was kind of cool and interesting there. Then next up here we got Air Gear volumes 23 through 27. Interestingly enough, volume 27, with this coming out now, there are now only 10 more volumes of Air Gear to come out here stateside before this series is also finally wrapped up. And man, it can't come fast enough. This series is just kind of it's gone so far off the rails as far as like it's hard to figure out exactly where it's go. It's like it's wanting to try and do other things except be Air Gear, and it's trying to juggle too many big ideas, but it's just not the right kind of genre for it. Oh Great is not a good enough creator to convey it well enough, and he really just needs to stick to just getting the characters in the fights and then having cool fight battles. That's really where he just needs to focus, and when he gets away from that, especially introducing more new characters. There's only 10 volumes left of this series. Do I really need more new characters? I mean, really? But needless to say, it's still all right. I'm in it too far. Gotta play it out to the end. Next up here we have Once Upon a Glashima, which is kind of this weird post-apocalyptic future where wizards fight each other with magics and stuff. And like it just so happens that this one wizard comes in and took away all the girls, so there are only wizards left, and kind of follows that, a world where it's entirely populated by magic-wielding dudes. I'm sure that's some person's innermost fantasy. Then let's see, next up, Angel Dust, where this schoolgirl goes into a binding contract with this weird android, and then the two of them fuse together and fight battles. It really didn't resonate with me. It was just sort of just out there. Moving right along now, All My Darling Daughters. This was a fairly recent Fumi Yoshinaga story. This was actually really good. I really liked this a lot. There was a lot of Fumi Yoshinaga is just really good with the short stories, which is why I'm going to be very interested in actually reading Uoku, The Inner Chambers, to actually see it. Well, the first volume wasn't really that long as far as narrative wise, so it wasn't really ongoing. I'm going to be interested to see how she handles Uoku, if she actually really pushes forward into a ongoing narrative, or if she just sort of has this kind of framing device of the premise of Uoku and then just has different character vignettes within it. Then let's see, next up we have Bleach, volumes 39 through 55, which is, I think 56 just came out, but otherwise I'd never, get Bleach, as it's coming out now, because it's, oh boy, that Fullbringer really killed it for me. And then also sort of really the whole ending fight with Aizen was just kind of I didn't really do it for me. Although volume 55, introducing the Quincy's is like these big final penultimate bad guys that can somehow seal Bankais. I mean, I'll give it to him that's at least something. That's not it. It's not Fullbringer, for God's sake. It's not Fullbringer. That's at least something there. But at least these aren't coming out twice a month like they were last year, which was really kind of hard to keep up with. So with so many series ending, and with Bleach, not coming out as much as last year, there'll probably be more less for me to have to read every month. All right, the Demon Auroron. Oh wait, no. The Demon Auroron. This was previously in 4 volumes, but managed to find here the all-in-one hardcover volume, which I'll read when I get to it. Actually, I think a lot of people actually have this edition of it. I guess it was just such a steal. Days of Cool Idols. I have no idea what this is about. That just happens. I haven't read it. I just got it because it was a sweet deal at the used bookstore, and that's about all I can say. We have Striker. This is all 3 volumes of Striker, known elsewhere as Spriggan. This is Striker, the Armored Warrior, Striker, the Force of No Return, and my favorite one, Striker versus the Third Reich, where Striker fights Nazis. Highly recommend this series for all of you old school manga, anime, action fans. If you've ever loved Ghost in the Shell with the cool high tech over the top action scenes, or just anything like that, usual 90s anime fanfare, this is right up the alley with that. You can get any one of the volumes. They're all pretty easy to jump into. Not a lot of setup or anything. Just sort of he's going on a mission, and that's kind of it. Next up, we have Lament of the Lamb, volumes 1 through 7, which is the entire series. This is actually pretty interesting in that it's actually a vampire manga series. Although the main characters, the vampires in here aren't like monstrous supernatural vampires. They're more like they're vampires in the sense that it's a medical condition where they just become very anemic and they get just sort of somewhat sensitive to sunlight. It doesn't hurt them. They just don't like it. And then also they have to have a constant craving of blood. And actually the brother and sister here, the brother who finds out that he has a long lost sister at the beginning, they form this very close and very kind of sort of disturbing bond, because she'll sort of comfort him in adapting to his growing affliction, finding out this family curse, in that he has to keep drinking her blood because she takes this medicine that suppresses her cravings, but the medicine is very hard on the body, and she doesn't want to him to have to deal with that, and it's just an easier way to cope, and it's a very very serious kind of drama. If you really think that you can never like any kind of this is like the most non-vampire vampire story I think you get. It's also interesting because it's mentioned on the back that this is a horror drama, and that's the perfect description of the blending here with this genre here, and horror drama, you really don't ever find that. I guess like American Horror Story, that would be a good example of a horror drama that's out right now for that. So this is a really fun series. Next up here we have Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon volumes 5 through 10, with only 2 more volumes to go of this series. So far, I mean, I've really digged it a lot. There's a lot more emotion. There's a lot more kind of angst, and it's really very very different from what I can recall when I would catch the show. Also interesting is that later this year they'll actually be releasing 2 volumes of what they're calling Sailor Moon short stories, which I guess are like supplemental stories that aren't necessarily tied into the main story of the title series. But it's gonna be that's going to be something, seeing this series end at the end of this year. Although Volume 10 actually had a pretty finite conclusion to it. It always feels like every one of these Sailor Moon arcs ends so completely that you're sort of like, it almost like it wraps itself up kind of too neatly to really have something. Especially the fact that this is supposed to 2 more volumes is supposed to create another arc for them to resolve some other conflict. It's kind of odd. I'll be interested to see kind of where they go with the last 2 volumes of it. And next up we have Blackjack, volumes 1 through 17, which is the entire series. This series is just so much fun to read. If you've ever been a Tezuka fan, you really ought to try and hunt down these volumes of Blackjack here. Any of them will do. It's just a unlicensed surgeon that goes and fixes people up for exorbitant amounts of money, or if they're poor, he'll do it for pro bono. He'll just make his own calls on that. It's really a lot of fun. Although, especially because it seems with every passing couple of months, another volume of Blackjack goes out of print, and those volumes will then skyrocket in price. Definitely, especially right now, just try and get just a few of them, because it's such a fun. It's really I'd say it's probably the longest manga series that Tezuka has worked on that is currently available in English. And these are just and also just the presentation and everything with it is also wonderful too. I really like it a lot. I really dig it. It's very emotional. It's very serious. You'd think it's sort of like House, where oh, how's he gonna fix it in the end? No, that's not the case with Blackjack. Actually, if you really had to narrow it down, it'd probably about 50-50 that he manages to save the patient and everything lives happily ever after. A lot of the time, what happens is he'll save the patient, and then he'll go and something will happen and he'll immediately die, and then he's racked with this feeling of just loss and futility, all of his efforts and everything were for nothing. Or sometimes he'll just flat out refuse to help the person out, or he'll actually get super vindictive and he'll actually go out and actively mess with people or just not help them. He's a lot more diverse, and the stories become a lot more engaging because of that, because Tezuka is so conscious about the way he's writing that he makes sure to not let his stories get into a rut, that he tries to do something different or unique with every story, and he does little tiny tweaks here and there of just something that wasn't in the other stories. So it's really interesting to see it even for just that. Next up we have Ai Yori Aoshi, which it's not written in English, but a sort of working English title of this series is, as it's been heard, is True Blue Love, and that's volumes 1 through 12, and then volume 17 right there. I've only read, I read the first 3 volumes a few months back, and it was very just blasé harem manga trope, especially the fact that the 2 main characters already confess to each other and they're already together, so I don't even get the main draw of it. Like, I thought the whole harem idea, the whole harem genre thing was about how you sit there and kind of guess who is the guy gonna end up with at the end. Oh, it's a mystery, maybe her or something. And it's like, if the two people are already together, then if she and the main dude are already together, then I don't really know like how you kind of stretch that. But I mean, I already got it, so I'm gonna check it out. At least the volumes aren't really that hard to. They're dirt cheap, and also they're pretty easy to read through, so that's at least a plus. Alright, and here we have Naruto, volumes 56 through 60, which is just more of the climactic, ninja war showdown, climactic final battle in this series, which again I still like Naruto. I mean, everything seems to be going through a natural phases. I mean, the only thing you could really complain about is the lack of attention to some of the minor characters, which maybe there was more of that in the previous in the first 27 volumes of that first major arc of Naruto before the time skip. But I mean, at the end of the day, the title of the series is called Naruto, not Ninja Clan. So by giving focus to the main character, I really don't see the main issue with this. Especially, I mean, the fact that Naruto's basically the only one that could really, do anything against the main bad guys. I mean, if you're just gonna give more focus to the minor characters, I mean, minor characters aren't going to ultimately resolve any big issues by the end. Again, I don't really get why so many people are not liking Naruto, and even some people are like, I don't like Naruto where it is right now. When it's like, really, guys, this isn't. If you want to complain about a shonen battle manga that's completely derailed and alienated his fan base, you can look at Bleach. I mean, that's how you mess things up. Naruto is just it's going along the way it's supposed to. I mean, characters get developed in here. Naruto is still getting developed. Heck, this entire latest volume of volume 60 was all about actually developing the Nine-Tails Fox spirit, because this is the volume where him and the Nine-Tails spirit finally merge together, in a symbiotic harmony, instead of this sort of he taps into the fox's powers and kind of hopes that he doesn't go on a wild rampage long enough to beat the villain, sort of thing, as opposed to Bleach, where has any of the main cast gotten any more developed than they already were before? Your answer is no, and that's kind of lame. So again, I mean, I still like it a lot, and I still look forward to getting new volumes of Naruto as they come out for that. Speaking of another shonen battle manga that just keeps getting better and better, Hunter x Hunter, volumes 28 and 29 here, with 20 and 29 being sort of the ending of the Chimera Ant battle arc. Actually, wait a minute, was that the ending of the? No, this isn't quite yet the ending. No, that's actually next volume, which will be in May, will be the final ending to the Chimera Ant battle arc, which has been intense, crazy, for just sheer action. Next up, Lost World, which this is the first major published work that Tezuka put out, and it's just a complete mess of a story. Next up, Attack on Titan, volumes 1 through 4. I really dig this series a lot. I liked it more in the first couple volumes. They kind of mentioned that one of the main characters has kind of this weird ability, and I really don't think I like that. I don't like that one of the main characters has a weird kind of ability that allows him to fight titans better than the rest of the guys, because that just kind of gets away from kind of the bleak outlook that I felt like this series is really pushing through. Like the fact that you've got regular dudes fighting these colossal beings, that was awesome. And then you kind of throw in, this one guy, he can do this thing, and that gives him this supreme edge on fighting them. And it's like, come on, it felt like he had to do that because some editorial mandate said that you have to have a main character of these shonen series, even though I think maybe this is technically a seinen. No, I'm gonna stick with it that this is probably still shonen. That the main character has to have this weird, crazy superpower, and that makes him awesome. It's like, come on, you could have kept it more grounded in realism. And I know realism is kind of a sketchy term, given that this is in a world where giant monster people attack regular sized people and try to consume and kill them. But I mean, it seemed like they were going along well. I mean, there was some cool little political controversy in the fact that they have a walled up city, and you had the main the high ranking hoity toity people that live in the center, and then on the very edge of the walls you have the lower income people, and you also have the military, because they have to constantly monitor the walls, and kind of that whole social class issue where the people in the very, very inner part of the walls, after about 4 layers of different high walls, they almost don't even really think or care about the looming threat that they could be invaded by these titan creatures, whereas the people that live on the inside the outermost wall live with this constant fear and threat daily that they could be like, that was kind of cool. You had something there, and then you kind of it's not bad. It's just it's just a kind of a small point against it, but where it's going right now, I mean, it's still very good. It's still got great kind of development in there. I'm still interested to see where it goes. All right, here we have Mars volumes 1 through 15, and also the prequel volume, Horse with No Name. Cue that 70s song, Desert on a Horse with No Name song. But I got this series at another used bookstore called what was it? Second and George. It was in Augusta, Georgia, when I was visiting my sis, and I managed to find that they had this entire thing here for really less than half off for it, and I just jumped right at that. Yeah, Second and Charles, and I already liked her other series, Eternal Sabbath. So she did a really good job with with those stories. So I heard that that's the series that actually made her popular before that. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what that's like. Next up we have Neko Ramen. This volume being Hey, Order Up. There are 4 volumes of these that were released, and so I read about halfway through this already, and it is hilarious. It's a cat that runs a noodle shop. I mean, cue all the dumb, stupid jokes you could ever come up with about a cat, which is probably the laziest house pet you could ever have. Next to maybe, I don't know, an iguana or a goldfish, and let that run a noodle stand where it has to constantly please customers all the time, and it has absolutely no concept of catering to anyone except himself. He's always trying to come up with some dumb idea on how how to make his food more appealing, or the fact that he had to live his life having a father who was a very famous kitty from commercials, who was always really cute, and the fact that he wasn't born a cute cat, so he had to leave home and try to make it on his own, and that led to him running a noodle shop, and it's really cute, and if you like cats, or if you like kind of that dumb, silly kind of humor about a guy that's just trying really hard to make something work, but he's too inept or self-conscious to realize how dumb his own ideas are. That's essentially what this series is like for that. Then next up here we have Gloom Party, which is essentially just a collection of just ideas and concepts about various kind of jokes that come up in manga, sort of presented in a 4-panel grid style that sort of projects the joke in its context, as you would maybe see it, and then gives a summary of the joke, and then the context behind where the joke is coming from, whether it be something cultural, some kind of pop culture reference, something that's sort of hardwired into a Japanese citizen, about kind of maybe how it either reinforces or it contrasts some established tradition of some kind, things like that. It's kind of interesting to sort of see like how comedy works with some of the manga, especially a lot of manga that of course doesn't get translated because humor is just such a very subjective thing, and also humor manga really does not sell well in foreign countries. You look here, like what humor manga is really the best selling. I mean, I always thought GTO was really funny, but of course the strong point of that is the fact that great teacher Onizuka actually relies very little on cultural jokes or puns or anything like that, and actually a lot of the jokes are sort of set up and presented in context of the plot that's going on in the story, so it's actually fairly easy to follow along in it, versus something like, say, Cromartie High School or Gintama, where the humor in those mangas are oftentimes a lot more based around puns, or maybe there's something to do with a certain sound effect and how that's kind of a joke, or something where it's not apparent and you can easily miss it. But I mean, Gloom Party kind of presents some of those for you there. So if you wanted to, get a little more, academic with some of your manga reading, this is a great one to pick up to kind of look into that kind of that angle of manga appreciation, manga understanding. There's really not a lot in the ways of reference and source material for kind of looking at and understanding manga. So the fact that something like this even exists is astounding. And let's see, Ghost in the Shell, Human Error Processor. This is the Kodansha Comics printing of it, which is a lot longer and wider than the Dark Horse version of it, which is fine. I like anything that gives me a larger print size, because that just makes the artwork look better, less scrunched up. But I've read about halfway through that, and it's pretty good, though severely lacking in the major for that. see. Next up, we have Velveteen and Mandala, which is about these two girls. Here we go. About these two girls that just are kind of friends, but they hang around, but at the same time they occasionally go out and hunt down and kill these zombie undead creatures in sort of a post-apocalyptic wasteland where they both just are kind of in their own little world. You know, it's not, they don't really, there's not really kind of that serious tone in it. It's just sort of like these, it's just sort of like kind of this, it's very much kind of a slice of life kind of look, kind of peer through the eyeglass kind of thing with it. I thought it was pretty okay. You know, you may not, most people may not like it. Then Crusher Joe, which I still have not read this at all. So, I mean, next up we have Dance in the Vampire Bun, volumes 1 through 13, with volume 14 coming out, I think next month, which would be the last volume of this series. This is another series, kind of like Naruto, where I'm actually surprised, like, so many people really don't like this series. Now, I can immediately tell you why some people don't like it, and it has to do with that, you know, bad press that it got because of some of the forced censorship or forced dropping of the license brand by some countries because of the main character Mina Trepes and how she is she's essentially the body of like a 10-year-old, but is constantly shown around in the manga and especially the anime, which was more of the controversy than the manga itself. And you know how that's you know somewhat like child pornography, kind of child like fantasy pornography in a way, which I mean okay, I'm not going to dispute and say that no, Mina in this manga is never seen nude. I'm not gonna defend that one, but I mean, as far as it being something, you know, you know, erotic, you know, I wouldn't say that it's drawn to be erotic. I'd say it's just drawn that way because of, you know, that's just kind of artistic license with it. I mean, that'd be like kind of saying like something like, you know, like that scene from Eyes Wide Shut, where they go into the orgy room, like trying to say that was put in there to, you know, make that scene pornographic so that, you know, we appeal to that audience. You know, it's like, no, that's just kind of in the story. That's just kind of a part of it. I'm not really, like, I'm more defending it in the sense that people are saying that like, okay, yeah, if you absolutely can't get behind the fact that, yes, the main character is in the body of like a 10-year-old girl, and at least in the first few volumes, she is sometimes here and there without a shirt, and you know, she is, you know, not clothed then you know, I can't tell you to read it, but I mean, if it's really not that bad. It's not anything tasteless. You know, it's just there, and you know, the story itself is actually fun and interesting, and I actually like it. And you know, it is a good story. I defend it on the merits of just the plot and the characters themselves, and you know, there's actually a few cool plot twists in here that are presented, and just more that it does things with you know, vampires and whatnot, and actually makes it an interesting choice. Even some of the political angles that it takes with it, you know, are cool and unique to look at. So I mean, if you really want to try and check out a manga series that and anything that features vampires that does them in a unique and an interesting way, and at least also introduces characters that you can enjoy and like, Dance of the Vampire Bund is a good choice for that, especially now with Seven Seas Entertainment actually now releasing 3-in-1 omnibuses of the Dance in the Vampire Bund series that you can pick up fairly easily. So definitely worth at least checking out to see if you do like it. Next up we have here Claymore, volumes 1 through 21, which is all that's come out as of right now for the series. This is another series that initially I did not like, but it actually grew on me. And I'll tell you the exact point when that happened. It was pretty much volume 3 when we actually get introduced to Teresa, the woman featured on the cover here. Just everything to do with Teresa and her establishment with the character of Claire, who we actually meet in volume 1 and is the main character through most of the stories so far. That really is what cinched it for me and actually made this a cool series to check out and actually read. It's like if you're enjoying Berserk and you're tired of waiting for Miura to either A, not commit suicide, B, get away from his game of Idolmaster long enough to do another chapter, or C, for Miura to just completely give up altogether with writing the series. Claymore is out there, and it's fairly good, and the same kind of genre as Berserk in this kind of high fantasy setting. I do like the fact too that it doesn't become too shonen with a whole bunch of training montages and weird, messed up, crazy super moves and stuff. Like characters will just adopt various kind of sword fighting styles that are just more kind of like a personal preference than like some kind of weird, bizarre talent technique that they use. And I dig it a lot. It's pretty fun, especially in the later volumes where actually there's a lot more focus on more of the minor character girls as they become more and more important to the plot. Ultra Gash Inferno, which this is a manga. It's actually not even that hard to come by online on Amazon. You can actually get this fairly easily. But the things in here are very, very disturbing. There are a lot of very, very inappropriate things that people are doing to other people. And you gotta. It is not for a lot of people out there. It's very it's very messed up stuff. I'm not gonna say what's in here, but I'll tell you right now, that cover that is the most tame part that you're gonna find in here. I can't even show you the back cover. That's how insane this is compared to the rest of that. But if you've got an ironclad will, ironclad stomach, and you really think you can handle the pure insanity that is contained within these pages, then go for it. I encourage it. For everyone else, you don't need to check it out. Next up, we have Moonchild, volumes 1 through 12. Which I still have not read yet, but now that I have the whole thing now, I can't wait to check it out and read it. Just the whole premise of it, just being this guy that finds this alien mermaid girl that shows up at his door, and he decides to take her in, and she starts getting psychic visions of a huge ecological disaster to come, and he decides to help her with this mission, a la, John Carpenter's Starman, just to get to that destination to help fix it. And it turns out the event they are that she is referring to is actually the Chernobyl disaster. So just how could I not go for that? That is just such a crazy, insane plot. Next up we have Uoku and the Hidden Chambers, volumes 1 through 7, which, again, I haven't read this past volume 1, which I really should, as, I'm such a Yoshinaga fan. A lot of people have been comparing this to Brian K. Vaughan's Y the Last Man series, and they're really, only the main, very basic premise part is where they're similar. In Uoku, first of all, the men aren't dead. They're not all dead. It's just there was some kind of, I guess, virus or plague that severely depleted the number of males and is actually still present, and actually the number of males that actually reached maturity is severely truncated. But there are still men around. It's just now that there are so much fewer of them, they are now put in a position where they are now, formerly in like a relation, in like these betrothals, it's usually the debate over the wife, bride price and so on. Whereas here now it's more of an issue for the men. The men are now to be coddled and taken care of because there's so few of them that if even a few died, that it would severely hurt your population for not having so. And even still, it only affects Japan. All other countries are still okay. And from what I've gathered, that does come into play later on in the story. And there's nothing that I've read of hers where I was like, didn't resonate something with me. So definitely check that one out too. From what I hear, from what I've read, she's only planning to make it 10 volumes. So she's planning to keep it fairly short. So there is that. Also, that this is going to be some long-running kind of, epic sort of thing. So there you have it with Uoku. And then finally, I have here Clamp's Holic, volumes 1 through 16. Following, my collecting the rest of Clamp's major titles and works. I just, I always was hearing that like Holic was also a really great series, at least until the ending, kind of like Tsubasa, along those same lines, and also the fact that this and Tsubasa are actually intertwined at several points in them, and I thought it'd be pretty interesting to kind of finally get it and figure out if the ending of Tsubasa makes any more sense with the context of what occurs in Holic from that end, and also this being the second longest manga series that Clamp had been working on in tandem with Tsubasa, actually. So that was it'd be interesting to sort of see how it works with Clamp trying to do the kind of long run gambit of it.